Episode 2 from Season 3 of Ted Lasso is here. And that's right, kids. You are back. We are back. We have returned to review this fun episode, which has an awesome debut in it, which we can't wait to get to. And we can't wait to tackle it here today, and we hope you're pumped up for it. Tom Clark here with you as always, along with Joe Higgens, and representing Bullet Club, Jay Luft. If I haven't butchered that, that would be amazing. And here I just butchered it.
If I ever went on the lam, I would be called Joe Higgens. Yeah.
Joe Higgens. That's we all had our Led Tasso names, right? But we agreed mine was terrible. Mine was terrible.
Some of them don't work, yeah.
Yours was Ho Jiggins, which is lovely. I love that name.
Yeah. Again, sounds like he does clogging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ho Jiggins and Lay Juft. Lay Juft is
that.
You guys lucked out. Mine doesn't work.
We sound like a pair of Dutch fellas on the lam.
Yeah.
Dutch Fellas on the Lamb is the name of the book, by the way. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It's the album, Dutch Fellas on the Lamb.
Me and you pointed at a windmill.
Right. So, kids, we are starting off in grand fashion, goofy as always, but that's, if you followed the show for any amount of time, you know that's kind of how we roll. If you're listening to the audio, man, are you missing the big, hairy goodness that is Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast here on the video version. Please follow the Boink Studios account on YouTube. You will get all the uploads as they happen, and of course, boinkstudios.com. And again, thanks for watching and listening. And gentlemen, as we embark here on season 2, we will start with the man from the Bullet Club himself, Mr. Lay Juft. So, Lay, talk to me about your thoughts going into this episode, including the huge debut we have here.
I'm just incredibly excited about it. There was something else that happened like really, really early on in the episode, like literally like the opening scene, more or less, where I was like, oh, that's actually, I didn't realize that was like as soon into the series as it was. I thought it was a little bit later on, but I'm happy it happened. But yeah, I'm really excited about this episode. Zava's just one of the best characters they brought into the show, hands down.
He does nothing, like, but everything.
He doesn't need to.
Joe, how and we're going to get into it here, guys, but Joe, in terms of what this character brings, like, you know, it kind of, and I don't think this is what happened, but it kind of feels like, okay, we've been on the air a couple of seasons and maybe, oh man, we need to inject some new life. I'm not saying that was the case, but even if it was, it's fine because, oh my God, I love this guy. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's, again, I always think this was planned out in a 1, 2, 3 act structure. And at this point, they're in the Premiership. Everyone's, tagged them to finish last, if not get like demoted. Relegated, that's the word. And so they're going to need like a big gun. They're going to need something. Because everyone is now, like Jamie, like in this episode, you see that Jamie is like nearly a fully formed human being now. Like he knows the word empathy. He doesn't understand what it is, but he knows what it is. Like, and so you just need someone in there to just stir that pot a little bit, just to keep it fresh. And as we said, like, I don't think he's in there for that long, but the effect that he leaves, the lasting impression, is that when we started doing this, I was like, I can't wait to get to the Zava bits again, because the man's a lunatic. He's just unhinged in the best possible football players who get paid too much money and are essentially children. Is like, the security footage in this makes me laugh so much.
He's impenetrable too, guys. Like, you can't affect him.
No,
you can't. You know what I mean? He's in his own aura, in his own world, and you can't get through. There's no matter what you say or do to him, he's just going to be him.
Hype.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. Oh, and again, like the rest of this episode as well, we're not rushing towards the ending, but stuff is now in play for how this all ends up. And just again, and not only is Zava introduced, but also another new character as well, who we'll cover when we get to them. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's not even the last new character in this season either. There's another one coming.
No,
yeah, there's another one coming. Yeah, well, kids, we know what you came for. Let's go ahead and do this thing. As we said before, this is episode 2 from season 3 of the show that we call Ted Lasso. This episode is entitled, I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea. So before we get started here, I don't know what this means because I know it means something. Pretty sure it's a song. And we were going to talk about it. I said, stop talking. Let's just do it on the air. So what is this, Jay? What's this in reference to?
It's, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, it's an Elvis Costello song, isn't it?
Elvis Costello, one of the attractions, yeah. Yeah, and it's just an Elvis Costello song, but his songs are always quite sort of witty and I don't know, like slightly political and stuff. And it is one of the, like, when you think of Elvis Costello, for me personally, it's this, like Oliver's Army, and what's the third one? I can't think. Watching the Detectives are the 3, like, my go-to Elvis Costello songs, because I don't know if I've had this conversation with you, but it was, if I could sing like anyone in the world, it would either be Elvis Costello or Frank Black from the Pixies, because 2 very different vocal styles, but both incredibly good singers. And yeah, I don't know what the song is about. I'm assuming it's just about not wanting to go to Chelsea, because Chelsea's quite an upmarket area of London.
It's a very posh area of London, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's about that, but it's probably got more meanings than that.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Knowing this show, 100%. Yeah. So again, kids, episode 2, season 3. The original air date of this show, or this episode, March 22nd, 2023. We just passed the anniversary of this. Directed by MJ Delaney. Story by Sasha Garron. 12 episodes in season 3. Let's do this, kids. When last we left the Ted Lasso game, the newly promoted AFC Richmond club faced scrutiny and doubt from their fans and the football pundits as Nate fired shots at Ted and the team from a distance. Rupert showed his appreciation to Nate as the new manager of West Ham as Roy and Keeley broke the news about their breakup to Phoebe. Ted struggled to deal with being apart from his son, and Rebecca, who wanted Ted to show some toughness, realized that all she needed to do was let Ted be Ted. And if you listen to that episode, and you better have, you know it was a really good one. And these guys back on track again with this show, and we thoroughly enjoyed doing that episode. We open on this episode to Lovely Day and Good as Hell mashup by Pomplamoose, which is the opening music at KJPR, and Barbara is talking to Keeley about a shoot for a client. I don't know that band, do you?
Pomplamoose is French for grapefruit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's
also,
band,
I've just had a quick look up, and Chelsea used to be quite a trendy and cool, like punky sort of area in the 60s, and then it quickly got gentrified and stuff. So yeah, that's what it's about. Not wanting to go back to places that aren't the same anymore, which kind of ties in with Roy's little thing at the end as well.
Oh,
his little speech. Nothing's not there for a reason.
Right. I knew there'd be something to it. So we are at KJPR, and Barbara's talking to Keeley about a shoot for a client, and Barbara's telling her, remember the client pays for this shit, but we have to pay it every time. So whatever you do, don't go over. Keeley says, but make the commercial as good as possible too, right? And Barbara goes, yeah, sure, whatever. Dude.
I love Barbara.
Barbara's brilliant.
She's
completely
just, the more we find out about Barbara, the more I'm intrigued by her. She's just a great woman.
She's beaten down by life, it appears. You know what I mean? She's like, whatever, I don't care. She's just completely tapped out. Keeley has a great idea and says, maybe we could all have a picnic together in the conference room. Barbara goes, I can't make it. He goes, I didn't tell you when it was. I know. Says it could be fun. We could get to know each other a little. Maybe loosen things up around here. She says, well, I've worked with this lot before, and yeah, this is as loose as they get. And as soon as they look out in the office, the one guy stands up as if he's been recognized.
Attention, like rigid, like a clothes peg. And I'm like, what? Who is that? It's the opening bit of like, it's the juxtaposition of like Keeley's like fluffy, like the porcelain leopard and all that, and then just these office drones sat there, like, and it's like the mashup of Lovely Day and Good as Hell. It's just two things that shouldn't go together, but somehow are working.
Yeah,
kind of.
Right. She says, She says, we'll see about that, Babs. Barbara goes, oh, no, don't.
Oh,
He goes, yep. I felt it as soon as I said it.
as soon as she walks out.
I love how she tries to give him a pep talk on her way out the door, and she's like, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And as she walks out, the guy who had stood up,
just panics. Like,
the guy who stood up says, what wouldn't she do? Like, don't read too much into it.
They're just not. They're office drones, aren't they? They're not used to dealing with real people. It's all like it's all facts and numbers and spreadsheets. It's all just numbers on a piece of paper to them. It's not actual people, and that's
with Barbara saying as well. Like, obviously, like, she's worked with this lot before. You get the impression that they kind of like that's just the team that gets sort of like sent around to each new startup that's going to bomb in about 6 months
as a unit, like gazelles. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Great metaphor. I love that. We go to Rebecca's office. She's there with Higgens and Keeley, and so is Trent Crimm. Ted tells them that they got a big old Ziploc bag full of your hair ties down at the Lost and Found. You should pop on down if you still want them. What a great line.
It's Ted comes in and he's about to do his bit, and they're all like, hello, Ted, like before he can even get his zinger out, like as he comes in. And he's taken aback by it as well. He's like, oh, I'm on the back foot now here. But yeah, his Ziploc bag full of hair ties.
It's really good. I love seeing Trent back on here, man.
Oh, yes.
He's such a good character.
James Lance is a tremendous actor in most things that he's in. But he's very understated in this, which is what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to just hang back and be in the shadows. But when he gets his little moments to shine, the bit with Roy later is a masterclass in just not saying anything. It's
I'm actually watching it back in real time, and they're in the office, and we're getting to that scene. But Rebecca tells Ted that Trent wants to follow the team, that he wants to write a book, and Trent says there's a story there worth telling. Rebecca says they all love the idea, but it's Ted's call. As Trent turns to face Ted, he can't see the three, and they're going like that, emphatically. And Ted fumbles.
This goes around. It does the thing of it goes around so long it stops being funny and then becomes funny again with him just umming and ahhing about it.
He's like, yeah, sure, why not? He says, what time can you start? No time like the present, except for 11:11. That's my wishing time.
Wishing time.
What?
Oh, 23:11 if I'm on a military base or Euro Disney.
And that comes back around too.
Well,
it does,
speaking
very
of coming
quickly.
back around, I love the fact that everyone telling Ted to say no to Trent about the book goes back around to like that first interview where Ted can't say no about like having the food the certain way.
Yes.
It's just such a
with the
cool little callback.
The curry house, yeah. Well put together, yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Suddenly, Higgens gets a text alert, and he's like that, and he's like, Zava's leaving Juventus.
And Ted goes, Ted not understanding the situation.
And honestly, this one makes sense to me. Yeah, because he said stuff,
no,
they're going to take his house, that kind of stuff, you know.
What about the kids? I don't know who Zava is. I thought it was something to do with Greek mythology.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to be fair, Juventus is a bit of a weird one because there's not a place called Juventus as far as I'm aware. It's
no, I think it's the team name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Turin in Italy. Although a little bit of a layer to that joke is that Juventus's nickname is the old lady, so Ted asking about the kids is quite apropos.
Well, you see.
A lot of layers to that joke.
Layers. Jenga jokes, yeah.
I like that. They tell him that Zava is a world-class striker who's about to leave his club in Italy, and apparently he wants to play in the Premier League because his wife binged The Office and said she wants to live in England. What?
And I think you mean Scranton. No, we did it first. Oh yeah, you did a what was it? A prequel to it. Like
a pre-make.
A pre-make.
Yeah. I was like, why does he go and play for Slough then? Like, Slough have a football team?
If we got Zava, that would be amazing. And Keeley says he would be huge for the club's brand. He's got like 90 million followers. One time he just posted the word 7 million likes, and it got 10 million likes, which is great.
Higgins, he's played for 14 clubs in 15 years and left a trail of devastation and shiny, shiny trophies behind
Yeah.
him.
Shiny, shiny trophies.
So, Jay, you get my first pitch of this episode to you about this whole,
Okay.
14 teams in 15 years.
Mhm.
We know that Zava's based on someone, of course, and that this many teams, honestly, in an equal number of years, this many teams. Is that, I'm going to say normal. Have we seen that in English football before?
Not so much in English football, but so for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who Zava's based on, who's he's a Swedish striker. He's very good at football, but he's also he refers to himself as Zlatan, like he refers to himself in the third person. He looks a lot like Zava as well.
Yeah.
They've done a good job casting it. Just it wasn't so much as 15 teams in 14 years, but it was just looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 different teams over about a 20-year career. Never really spent any longer than 4 years at any team. So it'd pretty much be a case of he'd see out his contract and then he'd go somewhere else for the most part. But also he would very much be like a cat amongst the pigeons. Most notably, when he played for Barcelona under Pep Guardiola, they fell out because they just had 2 very conflicting sort of views of football. So
Get Guardiola to sort him out.
They should have. But yeah, very, very much he's someone who kind of he'd arrive at clubs, he'd elevate them, win a lot of stuff. Sometimes, not always, Man United, and then he'd move somewhere else,
like the littlest hobo.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, would you like my first Zlatan Ibrahimovic fact? Because the man
go for it.
An enigma.
I hope it's a jingle.
Yes.
So do I. So, when Zlatan Ibrahimovic joined LA Galaxy, LeBron James sent him a signed LA Lakers jersey because they both joined around similar times. Zlatan Ibrahimovic signed the jersey and sent it back to LeBron.
What? Wonderful.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy these. I've got a feeling.
If you're LeBron, if you're LeBron, I don't know how you get upset at that. That had to have cracked you up when you get that back in the mail. That's wonderful.
Apparently, it caused a proper feud between the two of them.
What? Oh, yeah. Man, get over yourself. That's funny.
There was a genuine dislike between the two after that.
Oh,
I can't see why.
I get two egos, in a contest but I'd just be like, he's not even realised that I've signed this. It probably arrived framed and stuff, and he's just gone, all right, took it out, signed it, sent it back.
Oh, that's even funnier.
In a frame, but whatever. I am Zlatan. Yeah.
I think Zava would have assumed, he wants me to sign this beside his name because he's a fan. Right.
I'm really disappointed he didn't sign Jamie's shirt at some point in the show now.
Oh my God, that would have been wonderful. That'd have been wonderful. I mean, I asked you the question about X number of teams in that many years. In the NBA, we call those players journeymen, who are essentially they have a skill set, and every team they go to, the longer they play, of course, they get better and better, and they get smarter and smarter, and they end up becoming a very big asset, but not essentially a star player in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the difference with Zlatan, is he usually goes in and he's the star player. Very rarely was it that he'd go into a team and he wasn't the best player on the team. So I think that's where the difference is, because there's a lot of players like that, like journeyman, like you say, where they'll usually it's if a team gets relegated, they'll buy there'll be a couple of players who you'll see will always kind of get bought by a team who's pushing for promotion back up to the Premier League after getting relegated, because they've just done it that many times. They're able to kind of handle the pressure of trying to bounce back, and they're good enough to be able to help a team bounce back into the Premier League. but no one on like that, like really on the level of Zava or Zlatan in this case, where they just like go around teams like just for the sake of it.
Interesting. Well, there's a lot more to come on the Zava stuff, kids. I can't wait till we actually see him here. But basically, Rebecca is just she's apprehensive because who wants to deal with all this drama. And Higgins like apparently everyone who can afford him: Chelsea, Arsenal, United, West Ham. And Rebecca says, "Well, I say let's just go for it. I mean, maybe he's a handful, but because she hears the West Ham bit,
it's like prickling of the back with the West Ham." And she goes from, I can't be bothered to, okay, well, let's go and get him then. Yeah. Just, again, like, as soon as she thinks she's out, like, she just gets dragged back into Rupert's shitty tractor beam. Like, it's, yeah. And especially in this
oh, my
episode,
God, yeah. Yeah.
Because he's gone full Darth Vader at this point, hasn't he?
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, even that coat he's wearing later on, I'm like, if he could have bam, bam, bada, bam, bada, 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 everywhere he went, he would do at this point. He's just.
I mean, that trench coat is like the closest to like the Emperor's robes, isn't it?
You can get legally without getting sued. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ted says, I mean, if you're talking salted peanuts, yes, please. But if you're talking Skittles, though, no, thank you. Which is funny. Says the dye melts and it gets all over your fingers, makes them sticky. And that you can print, which is good. They go to leave, and Trent looks at Rebecca and says, so am I to assume that you're going to pursue a notoriously mercurial player you really can't afford simply because the team your ex-husband owns wants him? And this time, Higgins, Ted, and Keeley are behind Trent, and they're like going, no. And then she says, yes. And Trent smiles and says, love that.
Yep.
Which is good.
I think like kind of in that one moment as well, like the Trent's reaction to it, I think that's kind of like what wins him over to Rebecca, where it's like, yeah, this book isn't that too bad an idea. Because obviously they're used to Trent when he's been writing for like a newspaper, not when he's a completely independent writer who actually wants to write something like based on his experience.
Yeah, they've had nothing but trouble with the press from the Roy and Keeley photographs and stuff. Like you would, and it was gutter journalism. I know it's the Independent, but it's it's still the printed media. In which case, like what I mean. But I think like you said, as Trent is now just Trent Crimm, freelance. He's not gonna be snooping around for dirt and stuff. He's just gonna be telling the story. Which I don't think a lot of them understand at this point.
And plus, I would suspect that this character, like, you're bound by journalistic integrity when you're working for a paper, an online publication. But if you're writing a book, like, he wants to hear some of the dirt and he respects it, but it doesn't mean he has to print it. Because again, this time the rules aren't as strict.
They'd have like final say of the edit anyway. Like
you would think so, yeah.
You would assume, wouldn't you? But again, I think it's just because of the Nate thing and stuff as well. Like that's what's endeared him to Ted, because like he lost his job for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and he plays a very prominent but understated role in this season, Trent. And
true.
Yeah. I think, especially at the end of this episode, everyone's on board with it anyway.
Yeah. Ted follows Keeley down the stairs. He wants to know how the new job's going. She tells him it's good, but she wants her coworkers to loosen up. Ted suggests to do something together outside of work. And she says, maybe I could hire a shaman and we could do a bunch of ayahuasca under a blood moon. Ted says, I was thinking an escape room, but clamato.
Which is well out of left field. Like, ayahuasca is a very powerful hallucinogen. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah.
That sounds like something Beard would have suggested.
I think Beard's probably like recommended it to her in passing, and she's like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." But again, I don't know whether Keeley's just messing with him, because she's got Ted's number at this point, hasn't she? She knows how to like press his buttons a bit, but yeah, it's just an escape room.
I like when she delivers it. She's like, she's very into it. Like it's a great idea. And he's like, all right, well, yeah. He walks off and Isaac pops through the door behind Keeley. He's just like, boom, right there.
My God.
Like he just materialized.
Like a Labrador puppy. Like, with all the energy. Yeah. Oh.
He asks
And
if she can help him he wants her to help him get a shoe deal. And she says, what shoes? And he goes, no brands, just shoes in general.
Just shoes.
I want to see that commercial where he's like,
I just want to see him just putting on different shoes, climbing shoes, trainers, like Crocs, flippers.
He's not smiling.
Solace, and he's just like, shoes.
Yeah.
He's just angry until he finds the pair he likes. And he puts that like big grin on his face.
He's got one of them things from a shoe shop, the other measuring stick things that they have.
I love when Keeley's like, I'll see what I can do. The joy on his face. So he looks so happy.
Yeah, he does. He's pumped up.
She's gonna not do anything about that, and he's gonna forget. He's just had a moment where he's going, I can get money for shoes. Keeley's here. I'll go and ask her, and then the next day he'll have forgotten all about it. Because
that's how these people are with these characters for sure. Bummer catch Colin and Jamie come down the hall, and Jamie stops to talk to her. He sees Roy coming, so he immediately walks off. He and Isaac are filling up their water bottles, and Isaac suddenly notices Roy and Kit does a double take and sees them talking, and he asks if they've broken up. Jamie says, "Who told you that?" And he says, "Not who, bruv. It's what? Kinesics, study of body language. Just look at him. No eye contact. Keeley's crossed arms. Roy's clenched arms. It's science." Which is good. Yeah.
Like the look on Jamie's face is like sorcery. Like this. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, that Isaac's has that moment, obviously given something that, without giving too much away, something that happens later in the series that completely flies past his radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fascinating that he's reading play all the other team and people around him like that, but he misses something as glaringly
as blatantly obvious as what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jay, you're 2 for 2.
Right places. Yeah.
See what happens when I introduce him as Lay Juft? He just hits him out of the park, man. I'm saying. Roy walks away and Jamie looks around.
Came to me, to be fair. That one, the penny only just dropped then.
No, it's good. It's a great observation. I actually didn't even put that together.
No.
But then again, I don't have a catchy nickname either. So Roy walks away and Jamie looks around, this is deceiving because he does this like he's going to make sure no one sees him. And you think he's pursuing her, but instead he cuts into the kit room. So to your point, Joe, this guy is really going through a complete transformation of what he used to be.
Yeah. If you look from season 1 to here, in the space of 2 years, he's almost a real human boy at this point. Go on.
I was going to say the fact that he goes after Roy instead of Keeley shows how much he's grown as a person.
Yes. Yeah. And we're in the kit room, and he's just like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" He's like, "Roy has no time for this."
He says, "How did you know we're broken up?" And he's like, "No one told me. I used body science."
Body science. And he goes, "Are you all right?" And he goes, "What was that face for?" "It's called empathy."
Yeah. He goes in to hug him and Roy just pushes him.
Roy pushes him. "What was that for?" "You went in too quick." It's just like Roy can't even take a compliment.
I love the way Jamie's response though, as I forget how old people are skittish because of the war.
It's because of the war.
It's how old do you think Roy Kent is, actually? Jesus Christ.
But
come on, man. I'm just trying to comfort you.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't tell anyone. I don't want anyone to know." Jamie's like, "I won't tell anyone." And then we get the classic kit room bit, "And neither will you," as you point across.
Yeah. It's like, "Fine, I won't." And he does that. They both look as if they knew he was there the whole time and never acknowledged him.
He just never is acknowledged. He's in all of these rooms, in the boot room and the kit room. He's always in there doing something. And they just treat him as a non-entity. But his little speech thing that he does, maybe we should go out for drinks, a couple of pints, couple of shots, single lads together. Or maybe I just won't tell anyone. Fish bowls. Maybe I just won't tell anyone. Right. It's just so good. The poor lad.
Will's overlooked and he's not seen and not heard often. But apparently, Daddy hugged Will, so he's not going to plan to destroy the team and Ted. I said it.
No.
I'm not taking it back.
No. Like,
I'm just trying to wind you up, Joe.
It's later on, like in this thing, we get Will, and he is like an accepted part of it. They like him. They like the landowner.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Love it.
Yeah. But it was just that. It was like, and neither will you, Will. And he was like, just again, not even in the frame for any of that conversation. But it always happens. You're always waiting for it to happen in those scenes.
And you know, after having seen this happen a couple times, when you see him in there talking, in the back of your head, you're thinking, Will's in there, I'll bet you.
Will's in that room somewhere doing something,
right?
Trying to make himself as small as possible while go about his duties. Like, it's
awesome. We go to Ted's office and Beard's walking in on the phone. We assume he's talking to Jane. He's telling her that she's a sleepwalker. And I love how we always get in on the tail end of their conversations and we're like, wait, what are they talking about? You know what I mean? So,
I thought he was texting her because using voice because he goes, but you are a sleepwalker, period. And then like presses thingy. So I assume he was doing text to speech, speech to text thing. I don't know. It's not important, but yeah. But
that's
Ted's
fair.
Ted's sitting there reading a book.
What's he reading? I didn't get it.
He looks visibly shocked.
It's Beard's inverting the pyramid.
Inverting the triangle. Inverting the pyramid with all the notes in the side. So many tabs.
Again, more foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Like,
I've turned the sound on in my ear because go ahead.
He's just what are you doing? He's just like, you don't read books. I read the books, and then I explain the rules of the book to you. And he's like, no, I thought I'd try. But then he's like, I couldn't even make it past the table of contents, to be honest.
He's like, I'll wait for the movie version.
It's really good because he's like, what you doing? Why are you reading?
Yeah.
Like he's, you know.
That's his one thing that he brings to the group.
What I was saying was I had to turn the sound on in my ear for this episode because when he says, who is Zava? And Beard goes, like that. He does it many times throughout the episode.
Yeah.
But it's funny every
really
time
good.
He does it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
He says, he's a living legend. You know who Zava is. He goes, beg to differ, Claudia Schiffer, which is back to that thing again he does.
Yep.
He brings up a video on his laptop of a guy pulling a gun on a cashier and someone coming up with an armful of groceries, and you can just see him like, bam, and it just headbutts the life out of him.
But I like the fact that Zava, didn't get a basket or like a trolley, just carried. He's got stuff in his mouth. He's carrying it in his mouth, like because he's so thick that he never thought.
Eating a hot dog, isn't he?
Is he? That's even better.
He's eating like that's why he's a veggie dog bandit because he's eating a veggie dog.
Right. All right. That makes more sense now. But yeah, he just nuts him and then just walks off. Like,
I was going to say, did he even lay money down? I don't even know if he did.
Probably he did. Probably just put down like a £50 note and walked off or whatever. Like, money doesn't matter, does it? Like, it's the what was he called? The City player who drove around in his car on Christmas handing out just loads of cash to people.
Mario Balotelli.
Balotelli, yeah. Why are you doing? The police stopped him. Why are you doing this? I am very rich. I can afford to do this.
He's another strange old man.
He's another strange egg. Yeah. Set his bathroom on fire by lighting fireworks inside. Yeah.
Ted says,
I'm sure we've mentioned him several times before.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Ted says, I didn't know this fellow played football. Hey, I said football without even thinking about it. Boy, this book really works. And Ted's phone goes off. It's 11:11, wish time. And they both had to stop. I love this scene so much.
Oh, yeah. Tell me what
for
you
the
wish
wishing
for.
time.
I can't wish in case it's Beard. Like, I can't tell you. Like, he asks every day. I just don't want our wishes to cancel each other out. Again, it feeds right back to the first episode where it's okay, but if I see you in the dream, tell me I'm sorry because I don't want you to be angry at me in the dreams as well. They live just this pixie lifestyle. Life. Yeah.
What follows is one of the best scenes, maybe of the entire series. I love it so much.
But when we get to it, Danny Rojas is in on 11:11 Dream Time as well. Wish o'clock.
He is.
Yeah.
I wished for this 30 seconds ago.
Because Ted must have mentioned it at some point, and Danny goes, "Oh, I love that idea, Coach." And then he ended up doing
Danny's
it.
well into it. Yeah.
Because he goes out, kids.
A fracas. He hears a fracas outside, doesn't he?
Yeah, so a ruckus.
Yeah.
A skirmish.
Sam and Isaac are arguing, aren't they?
Yes.
And he's like, what are you arguing about? What? We've just heard. What? You heard that we're going to get Zava? Huh? What? We're going to get Zava? And then Danny Rojas, I wished for this 30 seconds ago, and now it's come true. And is it Jan Mass is like pats him on the back? He's like, "Well done." It's like it's not real.
Yeah. It didn't work. Yeah. Ted says, what?
No, we might get Zava. So is it that you heard that Trent Crimm's writing a book about us?
It's like, what? Colin's like, wait, Trent Crimm's writing a book about Zava joining our team? What? No, he's just coming here to write a book about the team. Zava's writing a book about us? And he's like, no, he can't get through to him.
No, Trent Crimm. And then
why is Zava writing a book about Trent Crimm?
Yeah, Zorro, yeah.
Getting more and more exasperated by their own incompetence.
Ted has to shout out and he says, hey, stop. Hold on a second. If y'all didn't know about Zava, which may or may not happen, and y'all didn't know about Trent Crimm, which is happening, then what were you so worked up about? Jan Moss goes, Roy and Keeley broke up. And then Beard lets out that scream.
and Ted has a bit of a vapors moment, a bit of overcome like a Southern Belle.
Yeah, he faints.
Beard catches him like. Oh, sorry, I went a bit lightheaded there.
Oh, I can't stand it. Roy comes in and wants to know what the fuck's going on? All the guys stop and go, oh, like that. So he thinks, yeah,
he goes, "Ta!" and charges at him. And he gets pulled held back. And Jamie's like, I didn't say anything. Like, big smile.
I come in and he said we're signing Zava.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, we're getting Zava? Jamie goes, or Ted said, Roy, you want to talk about it? He's like, no, I'm not talking about me and Keeley. No, I meant Zava. Do you want to talk about it? Sure, he's nuts, but he'll help us win games. That time I was actually talking about you and Keeley. And Roy's like,
Roy just shoots him a look of like, I've not got time for this. Like,
oh man. He calls Will over and he says, I need you to run to my apartment, go into my desk, grab a CD that's called Ted's Breakup Mix. He goes, got it. What's a CD? Beard like, are we to that point, guys? Are we to that point? Have you encountered people who go, what's a CD?
I don't know, because I don't talk to young people.
No, not yeah.
Fair.
Not for legal reasons. Just like
I was gonna say it's a little creepy, insane.
No, they just bore me. But Beard goes, oh no, I'm on it. Goes off. He throws his keys at him. He's like, I've already got a set. Like, because Beard goes in and tidies up for him and shit. Like, it's the weird relationship they have.
And when Ted throws his keys, Beard doesn't even turn around. He just keeps walking. So they just
skids him across the floor. Like, but then when Beard, when Ted turns around and Jamie and Will are stood there, look at Jamie's face. He's just got a big dumb smile on his face.
Well, like literally, I think he's like legit laughing like throughout most of these takes because like
to be fair, he looks like he's either corpsing and they've just kept it in, or
I think that like that's what's happened because when later in the scene, because obviously like Beard, like Roy says he broke up with Keeley and Beard runs back in like like what? Yeah, and then they tell like, and then Trent walks in behind Roy and Roy's like having like the worst day ever, and then it's when Roy goes up to do that speech saying, none of you say any shit in front of him. You see Jamie in the background and he's like literally like biting his lip. Like
I just thought it's because he was just like, Roy's having a terrible day and this is great for me. Or he was just corpsing and nobody caught it in the edit. Yeah.
I think that might be what's happened looking at the way it is. Like
it's just such a big dumb, like you can see his shoulders go at times. Like
because he's grinning, but he's biting his lip, and he looks at Will, and it's like, oh yeah, Jamie's like, or Phil Dunster's just like, not able to contain himself in this scene.
I mean, Beard coming running in took me by surprise as well.
Yeah,
like because you assume he's gone, right? And he comes running back in.
Oh, it's just such a great scene.
Well, when Higgins tells him that Trent's gonna write a book, we're like, oh, Dan's like, yes, and they're all smiling and happy. And then Roy threatens to headbutt the crap out of all of them. And he's like, well, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And Danny's like, woohoo! And they all look at him.
Fuck you, Trent Crimm.
Fuck off, Trent Crimm. Yeah. And he looks back like, yeah, I told him,
Yeah. I got carried away there. Sorry for a second.
Oh, it's so good. Bummer Catch. Man, I wish Bummer Catch had more to do in this show. I really like that little guy. He's fun.
It's just little and often is enough.
Yeah.
Just
That's
little
fair.
mad moment. Like the Zorro bits. Just like his genuine confusion about the book being written is it's brilliant. Like, yeah.
It's good.
Sorry.
We're getting ready to meet a character, kids, so get ready.
Uh,
We go to Keeley's shoot, and there's a lamb in a nightclub setting. Keeley gets a text from Ted that says, just heard the news. You tell me when, you tell me where, because I freaking know the why. Keeley's talking to who we assume are the directors, I assume, for this commercial here. Keeley tells him that
I think they're not the directors, they're the corporate side of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's fair.
I think they're the people whose product it is.
Yeah, because then she's like, okay, and now the lamb drinks some of the, what was it called? Cappuccino or whatever?
Kafka Mini.
Kafka Mini, which
Mm-hmm.
God knows what that is as well. I'm assuming some incredibly bad knockoff Russian vodka type.
Like it's definitely like an espresso martini in a can.
Yeah, in a can.
It's 1,000% an espresso martini in a can.
But they're like, the lamb cannot drink it because it will die immediately. And I'm like, what's it doing to people then? Like,
I love the way she goes, okay, the lamb won't drink it. And he just turns to each other and go, I don't think she understands that the lamb can't drink it.
Something to do with enzymes, they said.
Yeah. So we get to meet Shady Fine. Brother, if your name was Shady Fine.
You'd be a pimp.
Yeah. Played by Ambreen Razia, an old friend. One of my absolute least favorite characters of all time, by the way, hands down. I'm just not. The actress herself does a fine job of making this girl as annoying as possible, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't like this character.
The whole idea of her, though, as well, is that she's like obviously a friend from like Keeley's like old life.
Yeah. Well, we get that when she introduces herself. They do that screaming thing, and she goes, Keeley fucking Jones. And then she goes, Amber. Yeah, Amber. Sorry. But it is, and then they get the thing of they all used to live together. Like, they were all the sort of glamour model sort of things at the same time. But she just says, like, you got out.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what about Chloe? Married a footballer. What about married a footballer? What about you? Married a footballer, got divorced, back doing this now. Like, she's on her uppers, isn't she? Like, she's...
Yeah, like it's the whole... It almost feels like she's kind of trying to manipulate the whole situation a little bit, though, as well, because, like, obviously she, like, talks about how, like, proud, like, she is that Keeley got out of that lifestyle. And then Keeley's kind of, like, kind-hearted nature is, well, I want to help my friend who also wants to like get that second chance.
Well, she pulls her ass out the fire a bit as well, because the two corporate guys are like, we need like 100 more extras in here, and she comes up with this idea: if you use strobe cuts and have people cut near the camera, it'll look more full and it won't cost you anything else. And you're like, all right, that's a really good idea, actually. Like, maybe she knows what she's talking about, and also like it's nice that help your friends out and stuff. But
of course.
And then the lamb does a poo. Which, again, is one of my favourite just bits of cutaway jokes of her going, no, you can't sweep it up, it'll smear. You have to pick it up like sushi. And then it's just this girl with two broom ends trying to pick up incredibly small lamb poo is, like, very small. And just pick it up with two sticks. Use your hand.
I like how the lamb's name is Clarice. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, that's a fun joke as well. And if you were here two weeks ago, it would be, what was it, like sour toothpaste?
Like sour yellow toothpaste.
Again, just these little non sequiturs they throw in. Who's this farmer guy? What's happening? Why are all the adverts in Ted Lasso world mental?
Yeah, yeah.
The one that Keeley's doing is her dressed as a lion as well, is it? Is that for the? Oh no, it's not. That was for vodka, wasn't it?
That was for vodka.
Yeah.
And then she had also at one point jumped out of a cheese or out of an airplane eating a cheeseburger naked. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. What brands are these?
I don't know, but it's a terrifying world to live in.
I was going to say, these sound like very 90s commercials, don't they?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's where Keeley's supposed to be, isn't she? Like,
yeah.
Because when we in the Liverpool episode with the Asian pastime karaoke, that's when karaoke got big in Britain, wasn't it? In the 90s, like karaoke bars and that. So yeah, like that was her glory days, and like
there's a lot of them in Liverpool.
You think maybe does the Shandy character also exist here to give us a glimpse of what Keeley perhaps could have ended up being had she not gotten out of that life?
Kind of like Ghost of Christmas Past.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah. Well, Christmas future, surely. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Because it's also it's that thing of she's not having the best of time. She's broken up with Roy. She's struggling at work because everyone is boring. She's found someone from her past that she can kind of relate to, has had a similar experience as her. And it's I get why she takes her on, why she becomes like she reconnects with her, because she's nobody else at this point. But
more to come from Shandy, kids. I know you can't wait.
I guess in a way as well, Keeley's kind of like trying to do what Rebecca did for her, giving her an opportunity where, like, because Rebecca's obviously her biggest influence, she's trying to do the same thing for Shandy that Rebecca did for her, where she's like, oh yeah, I actually see something more in you than what everyone kind of just like sort of like thinks of you. So I'm going to give you this chance to kind of prove everyone wrong.
Yeah. And more to come on Shandy, for sure. We go back to Rebecca's office, and she's on FaceTime with her mom, who tells her that she had a dream that she'd been murdered. Rebecca's wondering why she's in a hotel room and not at the 3-day spiritual retreat. And her mom says, I am. I'm not sleeping out there. Far too many stars. I keep thinking they're all staring at me, you know. She says, but listen, I've got some exciting news for you. I spoke to Tish the other day, and she's agreed to consider meeting with you. She goes, wow, your psychic has actually agreed to let me pay her a lot of money to speak with her. Amazing. Well, no, she's considering it.
And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I love her mum because, oh God, I see a lot of my mum in her, of just the insane shit that you get. I get phone calls from my mum going, this happened last night in my dream. I don't care, mum. It's a dream. Like,
why are you telling me about it?
Why are you telling me?
It doesn't impact me at all. Yeah.
No. It's your brain sorting stuff out, right?
Yeah. Trying to make connections. Yeah. She says, I think you meeting with Tish would be perfect because, well, you know, you are in desperate need of some maternal guidance. And I'm thinking, you're her mother. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but we already know her mum's not the best mum in the world, but had reasons for what she did. And
she says, I've got to go for scream therapy, so I better go now because I mustn't use my voice. So she's got to go. And Rebecca's like, but you called me. And by that time, she's already clicked off. Like, freaking weird. Higgins comes in and tells Rebecca that Zava won't meet with them because it would be a waste of time and an embarrassment. And she feels that's an unnecessarily cruel response. Jay, back to you, my friend.
A waste of time for them and an embarrassment for him. That's what he says.
Yeah.
That is unnecessarily cruel.
Jay, I wasn't going to ask you about what Zava said, because, I mean, it's TV. But, like, would a player actually meet with owners in person, or wouldn't all this just be handled through agents and stuff like that? I don't know.
A little bit of both. Sometimes you get like just agents talking and then arranging a meeting. Usually, like a player will meet kind of club representatives, not necessarily the owners, but people from the club, just to kind of make sure it's the right move for them. So, like, you're not getting someone moving to a club and then after about like 6 weeks going, I hate to hear that I shouldn't have moved there. There's usually like it's usually not like a drawn out process because there's only like for transfers, there's only really like about 6 weeks to 2 month period in the summer, and then a month in January that they can like happen. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of kind of like trying to make things happen quickly, but obviously also making sure that the players don't make a decision that they immediately regret.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Zava is such an egomaniac. He probably would do the meetings himself anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just sit there like covered in bees the entire thing. You know, just something weird. All right.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, look at the way he is at the later on in the episode.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's got like a handler who's just like there to make sure he can go to the toilet uninterrupted.
That's
right.
Well dressed like. Anyway, yeah. I was gonna say we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, Higgins is happy, however, because Zava won't be signing with West Ham, and that does it for Rebecca. She's like, that'll only make it worse. And then he tells her, there's nothing Rupert can do. And Rebecca's like, great, now you jinxed it. So from that point on, she is upset and convinced.
But he goes, but no. And she goes, nope, you've jinxed it. Like, but it's like, if this was like season 1 Higgins, she would have just admonished him into the dirt, wouldn't she? Like, whereas now it's like, there's friendly sort of like, you know, she knows it's not. But well, there again,
she knows it's friendly. Higgins, on the other hand, given the
still
fact
terrified of her.
He's like.
Yeah, because the word is Zava's going to sign with Chelsea, which is part of what we're talking about here for the title of the episode here. But what I like is, in any of you out there who know and love Nacho Libre, which I freaking know and love Nacho Libre, you will know the song "A Well-Respected Man" by the Kinks, because that's playing as Ted comes in the locker room. One by one, he greets the players, and one by one, they try to ignore him. We're talking about Trent, excuse me.
Trent comes in. Yeah.
He goes in to shake Jamie's hand.
He walks down the corridor and they all stop talking, and like he's on his phone and stuff, and he's just like, morning, how are you? And they all just ignore, like, just blank him. It's
I think based on his reaction though, because he has like kind of like a sort of like knowing smile on his face, like it's almost like he's relishing the challenge of like having to kind of like break down the barriers with the players.
He knows Ted. He knows Ted will like eventually. This will resolve itself. Yeah. Having seen what Ted did in the first 2 years at the club, he knows that it's a matter of time. All he's got to do is topple Roy. The rest of them will fall like a house of cards. Yeah. Checkmate.
Oh, perfect. I like when Jamie's going to shake his hand. He goes, no, because he remembers that Roy threatened to headbutt all of them into oblivion.
the fear of Roy headbutting his skull through his skull. Yeah.
Oh man, he goes into
the changing room and they're all arguing, and he walks in and they all stop and just like freeze, and he just, all right, bye then, just walks out, and it immediately starts up again as he walks out.
Yeah.
It's again, they're all just children.
They are. Yeah. He goes into Roy's office and to Nate's old desk.
Yes.
Roy comes in looking more pissed off than ever, of course, and Trent thanks him for letting him share his office, even though it was Ted's idea. Roy looks at his desk to see it covered with balloons, cards, and stuffed animals.
Oh, God. Right. Yeah.
Like someone died or is in the hospital.
Yes, that's what I was like. I was also trying to read what the Wi-Fi password was above Trent's desk as well, but I couldn't make it out. There is a piece of paper that's got the Wi-Fi password on it. I thought it might be a fun joke, but
oh gosh, I don't know. That's good.
No. Oh, I've been looking at stuff on the whiteboards and stuff as well. There's the access code for the gate is on one of the whiteboards.
The gate code.
Yeah. But
interesting.
Yeah, he opens up a card and it's a sea with lots of fish in it, and then he opens up and like you could just see the look of on his face. Plenty more fish in the sea. Get it? It's just like, oh god, this is not what Roy wants at all. Like,
and that was from Liza, who we saw at the top of season 2, episode 6, when Ted's walking the clubhouse and says to her, "Hey, Liza, saw your Instagram post on Sunday. Way to keep that ice bucket challenge alive." So that's Liza.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like how they connect things here and there, you know?
These little dots.
Because I would dare say that we'd forgotten all about that character. I had.
Oh, no, I went and looked it up as well because I was like, it must be someone. And
Yeah. Like the guy that laughs. I can't remember that annoyed Higgins and Rebecca.
Yes. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
I can't remember his name. He just had that laugh.
Again, it's just these little throwaway lines that they call back to later on. It's
Yeah.
But and Trent gets a phone call. And,
he gets a phone call, and he can't really take it because as he's talking, Roy is popping one balloon after the next very methodically. Bam! Just taking his time. It's very good.
I can hear that as well. No. Is it on my end? Yeah. I'll just take it outside. And he goes to like speak to Roy and just thinks better of it and leaves. And Roy just stops popping the balloons. He's just like, I've won that one. It's classic petty passive aggressive Roy.
Really is. Yeah. I think maybe we can just call Roy aggressive.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Aggressive. Passive because he's not allowed to beat people up for fear of getting arrested, maybe. But yeah. He's ready to kill if he needs to, which is nice. So we go back to Keeley's office, and she's with Shandy. Barbara comes in, and Keeley tells her that she's hired Shandy. She said she will be consulting for affiliate management and client relationship. She's like fumbling for her words. Barbara is not kind.
No.
But also she's not very unprofessional when she asks Shandy about her experience and her education. Shandy doesn't have either. Her last job was modeling. Barbara says to Keeley, so you've hired a former model with no previous experience, no higher education for a job that doesn't exist. Lovely. Well, welcome to the team, Shandy. And walks out. Now, I got opinions on this. Barbara's a wet fish, cold fish, right? But like, she's not entirely wrong by what she's saying. Could she have been maybe not such of a douchebag? Of course. But like, this maybe goes to speak to Keeley's inexperience as being someone in charge, you know?
Yeah. I think again, like with Barbara, like obviously her and that team, like as I say, they seem to be just bounced around to like startups that are getting funded by this parent company. So in her head, she's like, great, this is just another thing that's just going to fail. And
just more paperwork for me to fill in.
Yeah, it's creating more work and more stress for me where it shouldn't be.
And by the way, they did a fantastic job with this Shandy character because her hair is whatever's happening there, smoky eyeshadow and stuff.
Her eye makeup is tremendous. I was very
jealous. A leopard print coat and leather pants in the middle of the day in an office. Like,
yeah, she's a glamour lady, and you've always
exactly
got to be your best.
Right. Yeah, and you suspect what's in that cup is probably not coffee; it's probably booze of some kind. You know what I mean?
It's that thing where she takes the sweet out. Yeah, just put it in that glass. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like Barbara's got no time. But again, Barbara's a numbers person. She sees it as just a spreadsheet, like the Matrix. This is how she views the world. You've hired your friend for a job that doesn't exist. Like,
yeah,
it's not a job that's needed. There's, we're getting by as it is, but now we've got to pay a wage to this person for something.
Good point.
And I get Keeley's point because, like, she helped her out. She helped her out in a pinch there, like, and saved her having to explain to Barbara later on why they had to go into overtime and pay 100 extra people. Like, but again, doesn't give Keeley a chance to explain that. Says a piece and then leaves. And I'm like,
and to your point, Joe, we get the backstory about the firm sending her from company to company when Keeley follows her into office and sees all the snow globes. And she says, they send me from one place to another and I buy one. Keeley tells her it's incredibly charming.
I think it's incredibly charming. It's a lovely thing to say. It's not condescending. It's not like, it's just, that's quite nice. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's the way Keeley, again, though, like, she's very good at, like, disarming people, isn't she, without realizing she's doing it.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, Barbara's kind of not like ashamed about like a collection of
She
snow
does
globes.
look a
but,
bit kind of like someone's seen them and is like
yeah, because she's got them sort of like stashed away in the far
in the
corner.
side.
But I think it's more just kind of like less shame, more it's her thing.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like that's like her sort of like her comfort blanket, so to speak.
I mean, because
Like,
transporting them must be a nightmare from place to place.
Yeah, like she's got them to remind her of like going. It's like one of those things, isn't it, where people who like travel a lot for work, they go to a lot of places, but they don't actually see the place they go to.
No, you go from the hotel to the office, and
I think that's like her kind of like way to make it.
There's
a lot.
Cuba, there's Sydney. We can see
Amsterdam.
There's an Amsterdam one. She's been around.
Like, yeah, and I think a lot of it is like, as I say, it's when people travel with work a lot and they go to all these places. It's like, oh well, I got a souvenir, so I've seen the place. I was like, yeah, I don't mean shit.
No,
just because you've been to this place.
And she can't put down roots anywhere, so.
Which is probably why she's quite bitter.
Can't make. She's not there.
Don't get me wrong. I love Barbara. I think Barbara's one of the finest characters in this.
Barbara's fucking great.
But I get her point. Yeah.
Yeah. She. I mean, Keeley tells her, you can't speak to people like that. I believe in her, just like the firm must believe in you to send you all those places. And then before she leaves, she's gotten a bar. Barbara tells her client relations coordinator. That's her job title. And Keeley says, well, good. And in case you hadn't realized, I totally made up the one I told you about before.
As she shuts the door, she's whispering. It's so good. But again, that's not even a real job anyway. Client coordinator. Yeah, it's just nonsense corporate speak, isn't it?
Back at the clubhouse, Trent tries to talk to Roy in the car park. Roy responds with, no. Of course. No. That's his response to everyone. He says, I understand your hesitation having me here. You're protective of the team, and I admire how much they respect you. It's not easy getting such fulfillment from a second career. I'm not sure if I even got it from my first. Maybe you could just give me a chance. Roy gets in his car and says, fuck off.
Yep.
Drives away. So.
And Trent, kind of goes, okay. And goes and gets in his car. Okay, another day. I'll just try again tomorrow. I think the Tedness has rubbed off on him. Just break him down. Just eventually, just kill him with kindness.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get the story later as to what's going on here. But
yes.
Yeah. So it's game day, kids. Chris and Arlo are back. They're already doubting AFC Richmond's chances against Chelsea because, of course, they are.
They're the worst commentators.
Well, they're entertaining. But, we won't have to get back into it. But again, the idea of they got here 10 minutes ago. It's over. They're going to lose. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're wrong. They're going to lose. Like, all right, cool. Everyone's got it figured out. Why do we even play? Let's just stay home. You know what I mean?
Let's just cut cards.
Let's just forfeit.
A deck of cards. Whoever gets highest wins. Then we can all go home early.
Let's just forfeit.
Tom and Jerry cartoons, yeah.
Yeah. God, man. Just, hate that shit. It's not even real. No, this is real, and I hate it.
No,
I hate that idea.
Of, you're supposed to be there traveling reporters, their commentators, and you hate the team. It feels.
It's good. We go to the Crown and Anchor where Paul is coming in and wearing a top hat and tails. Plus, he's got some hats.
He's got sweatpants on. He's got a frock coat on and a hat, but it's still his normal gear. It's I only bought 2 bits of the outfit, lads.
It's Big Baldrick from Blackadder energy.
It is, actually. Yeah.
He's got some hats to hand out to Baz and Jeremy. May brings their food. She goes, "Here you go, lads." Baz says, "May, I got the fish and chips." Jeremy says, "I had the burger," and she forcibly switches their plates. Rah! And she's
she switches them.
She
switches them. That's right. Yeah.
And she's like, "It's good to be back." And I'm like, that burger looked fit. I will say, well, maybe because I was hungry at the time when I was watching it. But I was like, yeah, that burger looked nice. And he's like, they just go and sit down. And but first game of the season. No, it's not. It's the first. Yeah, It's Chelsea, isn't it? Which is Roy's old team. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Keeley and Rebecca are in the stands, and Rebecca asks how Shandy's doing. Keeley says, great. And she gets a text from her that says, the text says, let's bring mimosas to the office tomorrow. Use that company credit card. She had been, the company
Barbara
card.
gives her the company credit card and is like, don't ever use it.
Yeah.
Why have it?
I mean, that's a first sign, guys. This maybe wasn't a good idea.
This was where, but even Keely's like, oh, no, we can't do that. Like, we've got to, we're not 22 years old anymore. I'm trying to run a legitimate business. I'm trying to make something of my life. And I think at this point, I realised that Shandy's just on it for a good time, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's going to have an easy life now because her friend got her a job. Yeah. Higgins comes in and Rebecca asks him for an update. He says Zava and Chelsea are pretty much a done deal. I have the confirmation of that from a very reliable source.
Higgins' stories.
Yeah, because he's done. You're right. He's done this before. A friend of my wife knows an agent whose masseuse moonlights as an airline steward on private jets. She wasn't working today, but her coworker who can read lips saw Zava mouth the word Chelsea a lot.
Keeley, I wish I could read lips.
That's literally like whenever like there's a like transfer news on like Sky Sports News. That's literally what it's like at the sources where there's like one or two guys that seem to like get like genuinely good information, and then the rest is just people just like making things up. Like, well, I heard this.
There's a Scottish guy. I only know that from Atletico Mints. Bob Mortimer.
He's not there anymore.
All right. Well, that's my one touchstone of that gone.
Yeah. There's a Spanish guy who's quite good, and there's an Italian guy who like literally like he must get about like 4 hours sleep a day for like the whole like transfer window, and it's just the rest of the time he's just like just getting news and that. But then you'd have like Harry Redknapp is like quite a famous one who was like he's like a journeyman football manager.
I know that name.
We have spoken about him before.
He now hawks online gambling for a job.
He does. But he was like infamous on like whenever there was like transfer days where he'd be driving out like the training ground and he'd stop him and ask him a question. He's like, no, but I've heard this, and just like make up some like story, and then he'd run it as news. It's like he's clearly just made that up to fuck with you. What are you doing? But yeah, that's what this is kind of like a nudge, wink, wink to.
Rebecca's still believing that he's jinxed the whole thing. She says, anyone seen Rupert, or is there any sign of him? Higgins says, no, Rebecca, he's not here, and even if he was, there's nothing he can do. And she goes, oh great, jinxed it again.
Keep doing this.
Roy's heading to the pitch, and he stops behind old man and tells him, fuck off, you old geezer.
Old man? That's Stephen Frost, I'll have you know. Legendary British comedian, along with, I think, Mark Aldrin, his comedy partner, is in Bottom, The Young Ones, part of the whole new wave of British comedy in the 80s. Old man. No, but he does call him an old man, yeah. But, yeah, Stephen Frost, I genuinely, like, popped big. I was like, Stephen Frost! I forgot he was in this. Yeah, he turns up in loads of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of them. I recognized his face. I was like, where do I know him from?
He does the Fringe every year and stuff. I think, is it not him that does the drunk interviews thing where he gets people hammered and then interviews them? I can't remember. But yeah, again, just a little throwaway bit in this. But I was like, oh, it's Stephen Frost. It's nice. It made me feel warm inside.
He says, heard the news. I was like, I broke up with her. Why? I mean, you guys were perfect together.
And he walks off. He's like, fuck you, Bruce.
Yeah. Roy sits down. The fans see him. This was a nice touch, by the way. They begin to do the chant. And Arlo points out it's a lovely moment. Roy stands up and salutes them. Keely's smiling down at this, and Rebecca holds her hand. And here we go, kids. Finally, It's like the
We get
Magnificent
to see-
Seven. They've been talking about the villain through the entire movie, and we finally get him.
Chekhov's gun.
It's
Zava.
Zava, played by Maximilian Osinski, coming into the stands. The crowd begins to pop for him, and Danny's excited on the pitch, but Jamie's not having it. Is this competitive Jamie coming out every time Zava's name is mentioned? Is that what we're seeing?
I think the thing is that Jamie's like gone from being the best player in a team that's not working as a team to like the linchpin of the team because he's the most important player because he basically everything goes through Jamie and everything's built around Jamie. And he knows, which again, this is foreshadowing for the next episode, but he knows if you bring in a player like Zava, you've got to build the team around Zava.
Yeah.
And then that would disrupt everything that he's built and everything that Ted's built.
Yeah. I
That's
think
fair.
there's a certain amount of jealousy or more just kind of like what we've got is fine. We don't need him. Like we'll get through this. We're good enough. We just need to like knuckle down. But Danny is like Zava is over there.
Oh, is that?
Have we missed the bit where Danny goes on about nearly scored with his face? Or is that in half time?
That's the half time.
That's half time. Yeah, it's I genuinely think it's again it's part of Jamie's thing of becoming a real human. It's realizing that what Ted has built will work, and adding someone new to that mix might disrupt the whole thing. And also, I think a little bit of jealousy on his part. Like he's still not fully formed. Like so, he still doesn't want to be outshined by someone.
Yeah. And I mean that's fair. That's a fair concern. I mean the team is playing better, and they're all playing together as a team. But you're right; it does funnel through Jamie first. He's their star player.
Yeah.
Back at the pub, Baz says, "We're in the same city as Zava." Paul says, "Thank God we got dressed up." It's good.
Again,
like it's that important to them.
When we went to meet a friend of mine in the other side of Manchester the other weekend, and my wife was convinced we saw Bill Nighy at the train station. It wasn't. It was an old man with glasses on. But my wife was convinced it was Bill Nighy. She was showing me pictures of Bill Nighy. Like, I don't know who Bill Nighy is, right?
Would have been cool if it was Bill Nighy.
It probably was Bill Nighy because he was in Manchester recording radio stuff that day.
Was he?
And he was getting a train back. She's like, don't let her know that. Like, obviously,
oh wow!
I don't want getting ideas above a station. But yeah, it's like there's probably in your city now. There's probably a quote unquote famous person there. It's just you don't know. Like, but it's just they've got nothing out there. These three lads, they've got now apart from we're in the same city as a famous football player. Not Roy, not, Jamie, but Zava. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I find it very weird, the hero worship like that for stuff.
Chelsea scores an early goal, and May tells the guys to take off the hats. They're bad luck. We go to halftime, and Higgins sees Rupert talking to Zava and immediately makes the choking noise, which is awesome.
If they'd have scored those hats on, they'd have worn them every damn game of that season.
Of course.
Yeah. Which makes me sad that they didn't.
I know, because I wanted to see them all sitting there in just their regular street gear and just these manky, like Oliver Twist style top hats as the season progressed. Because they're not going to look after them.
Rebecca tells him, "Would you please go and find out as much as you can from your vast network of lip-reading massage therapists?" Rebecca tells Keeley, "Years ago when I was bartending in that private club, Rupert and his then wife came into the bar. He was the life and soul of the party, buying rounds of drinks for everyone, telling stories, just charm personified. And he left me a massive tip. Then about a week later, he came back without his wife and asked me out. I, of course, said no, then he left." Keeley says, "What a dick." Rebecca says, "But then he came back the next night, and the next night, and the next, and he would just sit at the bar with the drink and chatted to me until close. And he just said, 'It doesn't matter if you ever go out with me, it's just worth being here to get to know you.'" Keeley says it's a fine line between stalking and romance. Rebecca says after about 6 weeks of that, he asked me out again, and I said yes without any hesitation because by that point, I just felt so lucky because he wanted me. He made me feel special, chosen. He made me feel like that. Points to Zava laughing as he's speaking to Rupert. That is, if you read that in an account of someone who had been groomed, you would go, that's exactly what a victim would say.
Yep. If you read that in account and then they found the body in a creek, yeah, that's exactly what they would say. Like, again, I'm not wanting to get into it as well, but when they go to the Hallmark stuff later on, I'm like, that's the exact opposite of Hallmark stuff. But it's so he went there every night for weeks and weeks on ends. That's mental and also creepy as all hell. Like, and just because he's rich, however, that makes it somehow less creepy. No, don't like it. If anything, it made me hate Rupert more because, like you said, he groomed her.
Yeah, it's very, very sinister, isn't it?
No.
Because what do you think the age difference? Because I don't know the age difference between Hannah Williams and the actor that played Rupert. Can't remember his name. I don't know the age difference. Maybe 30 years. Anthony Head.
I don't think it's that much, but I think they've kind of alluded to the fact that there is like a bit of an age gap between.
I would say probably about 20 years. I think is my guess. In character wise, yeah.
That plays into it. It's got to play into it.
Because he would be going through like his 40s midlife crisis sort of thing.
When he's
and see some young Dolly Bird and be like, right, I need to get that, and then 20 years later down the line, he's having that again, and that's how we end up with Rebecca too. And
60 and 40 doesn't sound terrible, but 40 and 20 not so uncreepy. It sounds rough.
It is, man. Like, I wouldn't. I'm 42 now. I would hang out with a 20-year-old. A, I'm tired all the time. B, I have to wee constantly on nights out. Like,
I mean, there's exceptions, right? Everybody's different, but like all that life experience that the other person just does not have, like, you're gonna have wisdom whether you're smart or not. If it was
the other way round, if it was a 40-year-old woman chatting up a 20-year-old man, that's fine. Other way around, I don't know. Like, it's.
I don't know. I think that could be dangerous as well, honestly.
No,
depending on motive.
Yeah. Well, it's Trophy in this place, isn't it? Wasn't it? He wanted a younger Trophy wife.
Yeah.
That's all it was. He wanted a younger model.
Yeah.
It's no. Again, that's the one thing that's ever made me feel quite gross, was her telling that story and playing it off as kind of romantic, and then Keeley just going, no.
I was gonna say it's almost like kind of like Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Where she's looking at it through rose tinted glasses, almost like sympathizing with like the guy who ruined their life.
Also, because he made me feel wanted. Like,
but
I'm assuming if you looked as good as you do now as a younger lady, you must have been beating him off with a shitty stick. Like,
But then also, if she's young and naive, then the fact that this like rich, charismatic man wants,
who's also very similar to her father.
Yeah, but the fact that he's like gone to this length, like to make her feel wanted and the most important thing in the world.
It's just gross.
It's gross. It's just, obviously, again, it just shows like Rupert's ability to manipulate people.
Get what he wants, no matter what the cost.
Yeah,
100%. Ted goes in the locker room and he tells him, all right, we get one goal, we're right back in this thing. But right now we're being so unoffensive, we might as well be a Hallmark Christmas movie. You know what I'm saying? And they're all like,
yes, I do.
I know you do.
It's the Hallmark bit. Finally, my moment to shine.
It's my favorite batch of Christmas movies besides the traditional ones we watch every year. We binged so many this past Christmas season, and the worse they were, the more I enjoyed them. Like, man.
You know, if you've got like a Melissa Joan Hart in there, then you know it's going to be terrible, but also tremendous. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I love how, real quick, I love how on that network they'll announce the newest movie, and they'll say their names like this. And you're like, I don't know that name. You say this as if, who's in it? Yay. I'm like, I don't know these people.
Told you, I follow, there's an Instagram account called Hunks of Hallmark, where it's just generic white men. God. And occasionally they'll put a black guy in there for equality's sake. But they could all just be called Clive, and I wouldn't know the fucking difference between them.
Man.
You get to recognize faces, especially the men, because there's only about an X amount of men who go around and do them all. Women are kind of interchangeable. But
they are.
It's like a core, like Bollywood. There's like 8 men who just do all the films. Yeah.
By the way, side note, there were a few. I'm gonna say maybe four. That a third of the way into it, I'm like, this is actually a good movie. Like, what happened? Did someone fall asleep behind the chair and they forgot to direct a bad movie? Like,
you occasionally get a good one. Yeah, no.
Right. Like, and I don't mean even like corny good, but like good, like well written too. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. No way is this happening.
They brought in a load of new writers because there's, again, not to get into it, but there's like 2 other networks now who are doing Hallmarky type things, and they've had to like up their game a little bit with it. And
man, those other networks can go straight to hell. Just leave Hallmark alone. That's what I'm saying.
One of them is a very, I think it's one that Lacey Chabert works for now, is a very pro-Christian one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which doesn't even have deep kissing at the end. What's the point if they don't do a deep kiss at the end, Jay?
Deep kiss.
No, the one bit that you want at the end is them to do a deep kiss, and then we get like
the only reason I watch them.
We get a pan out, and then we get a pan in on their joint bakery / record shop that they've opened together. Or like it's the one thing I live for.
The one thing Jesus doesn't like deep tongue kissing. I've got him good.
It's not even deep tongue kissing. Like
he frowns on it.
Yeah, Jesus never. Anyway,
the Savior frowns on it. That's what I've been told.
But yeah.
So
none of them. I can't believe that none of that group, especially Danny, don't know what a Hallmark Christmas film is.
How did Keeley not know and make Roy watch them with her?
In the locker room.
I was gonna say Zero. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
It's Hallmark.
Yeah. But I can't believe it. Again, none of them don't know what a Hallmark Christmas film is. It blew my mind a little bit.
Well, Keeley's not in there, but
yeah.
In hindsight, Zero missed out on like a lot of like Ted's references is mad because like he's Canadian.
Yeah, he's trying to talk to him, and he tells me, says, how many shots on goal? We have that. Halfbeard says 1. He goes, that's what I thought. And that one was pretty much a mistake. Am I correct, Danny? Danny says, yes, it bounced off my face, but my face almost scored. And they're all like patting him on the back and stuff. Like it's a big deal.
I think it's a bumper catch. He's like, yeah, well done. Your face did nearly score.
And Jamie has an idea, and before he can say it, Trent walks in and everything stops again. Roy's looking very happy with himself, and Ted sees all this happening. He pulls Roy into the shower to speak with him. And Roy wants to know what a Hallmark Christmas movie is, and Ted just cuts him off. When Ted says, hey, look, man, have you guys picked up that when Ted says man, he is serious? He hardly ever said, right? He said it to Nate when he's like, hey, man, I just want to know what's going on. Did I do something to you? And that's when Nate ripped his head off. Like, when Ted's serious, he says man.
Yeah, it's one of those you can see, like, Roy stops, like, smiling, and he's like, "Oh, this is Ted, like, being serious. Like, he's not gone full Led Tasso with it, but he's genuinely like, this is serious." But it was the line of, was it, your ego is about to sabotage a whole lot more than a silly football game. Do you feel me? And then Roy's like, okay, fair enough. And then Ted goes, and Hallmark Christmas movies are films that feature women from the big city. They fall in love with their childhood crushes. It's usually some fellow that owns a Christmas tree farm. Sometimes he's also Santa Claus or a prince. That is the 3 plots of Hallmark Christmas films.
That's it.
They suck, but they're great. But they also mostly suck. But they're also kind of great. They're really good with the sound off.
This is the part where Mr. Ho Jiggins plugs his podcast
Oh no.
This is your time to shine. Come on now.
If you want to watch, well, listen to me and some people talk about like Hallmark. I genuinely love Hallmark films because they're unlike anything else, and there's millions of them. Like, and they keep getting made. For every week that is out there, 3 more Hallmark. You'll never catch up. It's a losing game.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get really, really good. The Christmas ones are, sometimes really great. The not Christmas ones. We had one recently about Ghost Phone, where a husband died at sea and was phoning her from the ocean and being like, go to the Comic-Con. And then she had to go to the Comic-Con and meet her future. Yeah, it was bizarre, but it was brilliant. Like, she had to eat a load of gravel. It was brilliant. Like, it's just, but yeah, you know what you don't, like Ted says, you don't have to engage your brain. You can just watch them with the sound off. And over here at Christmas, we get is it the Xmas channel, which just shows these things 24 hours a day. We put them on. We have a nap on the couch. You come back in. It's a different film. You know exactly the beats you're up to, though. Like, nothing changes.
It's a different film with the same story.
Yeah, it is. It's always the same. Woman from the big city. She either works in advertising or interior decoration. Normally,
occasionally law.
She's always waiting for to become partner.
You get the occasional lawyer.
Her boyfriend, her scumbag boyfriend, is normally a lawyer. She has to go back home because her dad's died, her auntie's had a fall, or the gingerbread contest this year won't go ahead without her, or something like that. And she goes back home and she meets, Derek Jacobs, who it's Chip. Chip was always her name.
The old homestead's about to be sold, and she, right? She's gonna lose the childhood home and either a hotel or a ranch or a farm. Yeah, come on, stop.
Always this palatial ground that they've got.
Yeah.
Huge.
And there's always an event, like a parade or a gala or a benefit or a charity drive or a pageant.
It's depending on what time of year it is, it will either be like the Christmas Town Festival or the Easter Festival or there'll always be some kind of pumpkin festival. The October ones are particularly good. There's only so many ways you can serve pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is fucking horrible. I've had it. It's gross. Like, no one should eat that.
I love pumpkin pie, man.
Horses for courses. But but they're great. I love them. But I also hate them because I waste 2 hours a week watching these damn things to talk about them. Yeah.
And that's Hallmark of Greatness, kids.
That's Hallmark of Greatness. Yeah, I've not really sold that there, have I? But yeah. But Roy is like, okay, fair enough. Like, I'll go and have a word. And he it's the bit where he goes, oi! And like Trent comes in. And again, Jamie's got a big it's more fun when he's yelling at other people, isn't it?
He yells Crimm. He goes in and goes, Crimm! And everyone jumps, including Trent.
Even Beers.
I was going to say, I love how jumpy Trent is from the balloon thing as well. Like the balloons, he's like dead jumpy after it. And then Roy shouting at him, he's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. But he takes a bit of the showers and we find out why.
That's a great scene. Yeah.
Why he hates Trent so much. I was going to say, like, he brings his kit bag in with him. Yeah. And I thought, is he pulling out like a piss-soaked knife or something? Like, are we going to get like old school wrestling rules? And he pulls out his wallet and he pulled out this old faded news clipping. I was trying to read what was on the back of it, but it's illegible. And he basically says, what was it? Did I write it down?
Roy Kent is an overhyped so-called prodigy whose unbridled rage and mediocre talent rendered his Premier League debut a profound disappointment. He says, you know who wrote that? Trent nods. He goes, what does he say? I was 18 years old.
He said, I was 17 years old. It devastated me.
Yep.
And Trent just kind of looks at him and goes, I was young. I was trying to be edgy. I was trying to make a name for myself. And like, it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I think that's what Roy realizes is that, okay, it's a horrible thing to write, but and as we find out later on as well, like he admits that, But Trent doesn't say much in this. He lets Roy vent his spleen at him, and then just kind of goes, "I'm sorry."
I think the thing is that they're both sort of like similar age, aren't they, as well? Like, so, like, Trent obviously was a young up and coming journalist at the time, and he, as he said, he's trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to stand out from the crowd. And unfortunately, Roy's the person who Trent kind of like targeted to try and make his name off the back of.
What was it? I always looked for the negatives.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think Roy sees, like, from Trent's response to it, Roy sees a lot of regret from Trent, but also a lot of growth from Trent.
Yeah.
From the person that he was then. And I think in a way, Roy's like, yeah, I shouldn't really be harboring this grudge like 20 years later.
No. I've gone on and had a great career after that. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And like Trent said, like it was the thing of like I only focused on the negatives when I should have been looking at bigger things. And I'm like, everyone's learning. And isn't that the moral of Ted Lasso? Is that you don't focus on the negatives. You look at the positives and build on them.
Yeah. And
but it was the fact that Roy has carried this and he's unfolded that and he's read that low, like he's stewed on that. This paper clipping that he's had for ages. And I'm like, just let it go, man.
They go back to the locker room and Roy tells them they can talk. He says, "You can talk in front of the prick now."
And everyone goes, "Oh."
Yeah. Jamie starts talking about what they can do, and Isaac's getting pumped up. He tells them, "Let's take it all the way and fucking win this."
Yeah, they kind of realize they just need to dribble at Chelsea, which, fun fact, works in real life. You dribble it. It's usually like, I say dribble at Chelsea. It's something that, like, if you take it to like a team that's a lot more kind of like statistically better than you, usually you can kind of like shock them into like getting a good result. Doesn't always work, but you do see it from time to time, like where if like at time of recording, it happened today with Liverpool. They should have won at home and they got beat. So yeah, just sometimes taking it to the team can catch them off the game.
Nice.
This they do. We get this this lovely bit of them running it up. They cross across to Jamie. Jamie crosses it in to Sam. Sam, in a very low volley, I thought, like, his leg must have extended Go-Go Gadget leg at that point, because he hits it, comes off the bar, smacks off Danny's face into the net. It's a goal. Yeah. And Danny is like, my face scored a goal. And they're all so happy for the boy. And I'm like, oh, Danny.
Yeah.
Really good. Back in the stands, Higgins comes back and says, "I just got off the phone with my son's karate teacher. He used to date the woman that ran out Zava's avocado farm." And she's like, "Would you please get on with it?" He says he might be going to West Ham. And she's like, "I knew it. Rupert always gets everything he wants. If Rupert can sweet talk Zava to join the club, then so can I." And she gets up. She goes to see Zava, but is cut off by his guy. Rupert comes up, being the dick that he always is. And says, "Congratulations." Yeah. She says, "Congratulations, by the way, on the win against Leicester." Was it Leicester?
Leicester.
Yesterday. Yeah. Rupert says, "Thank you. Yeah, we are so lucky to have a manager like Nathan. He's a gaffer who really understands the game. Such an advantage."
It's fucking.
He's not wrong.
Knives, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's not wrong. But no, he's not wrong. But at the same time, he only said it because he's a dick. Like,
yeah, he's not.
I think the thing is, though, like, which he kind of, again, he's missing the point of, is that Nate understands the game, but he doesn't understand people, whereas Ted understands people, but he doesn't understand the game.
But he's got Beard, and he's got Roy filling
exactly.
Nate's got no one.
Nate doesn't have anyone to fill those gaps. He's got Disco.
Johnny Disco, yeah.
He's got Disco. We do like Disco.
Yeah.
But
what was the line from the first episode? That may be my name, but it's not a party or something, or like.
Yeah. Disco's my name, but we're not going to dance or something like that.
Yeah. But that's it, and like Ted's made all of these people like well-adjusted members of society now, whereas Nate is fueling future serial killers. But yeah, it's just again, and it's just Rupert knowing that he can needle her and just get under her skin, and also wearing that big black trench coat. Like, it's not quite a duster, but
no,
it's
legally distinct Emperor Palpatine robes.
Zava comes out to speak to them. Rupert introduces her as his ex-wife, and she corrects him as being the owner of AFC Richmond. Zava says, "It's a pleasure for you to meet me."
Again, lovely line.
That's a fucking Zlatan line if I ever heard on that.
Wonderful.
Like he literally when he signed for LA Galaxy, he said it's a pleasure for you to have Zlatan playing for your team, and then when he left, he said something like, "You've had the pleasure of Zlatan playing for Los Angeles. Now I must leave.
My home planet needs me."
Yeah.
Oh.
Then,
I just love the fact that he's dressed like Hitchcock and Scully when they're the Texas Millionaires Club trying to buy drugs in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
What a great reference. I love that show.
It's a deep cut, that one.
I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's one of the most fun shows I've ever seen.
One of the most upbeat and positive shows.
I need to rewatch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's my current rewatching while I'm cooking at the moment because
I got to stop or I'm going to start because I'm already wanting to talk to you about stuff. Fun scenes.
It's fine.
I just had one pop into my head.
No, it was in one of my top 10 sitcom episodes of all time ever. It's a Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode.
So good. Their flashback when they're like, it's like Miami Vice. They both look cool with the great haircuts and their chiseled.
I just watched that one before when I was cooking. Yeah.
That's great. All right, sorry, my bad.
Well, Rupert stopped. Right, Zlatan. Sorry, not Zlatan. Zava. Guys, it's confusing, isn't it? He goes off and turns left at the end of the corridor. Rupert says his horrible, horrible goodbyes, and goes and turns right. And Rebecca sort of goes, and then like. Chases off down after Zava and catches him having a slash. Also, having a slash like a child would do with his hands behind his back. I noticed.
He's like this.
Like
he's very focused. He won't even,
Like how Butters has a Wii in South Park. Like...
with his shirt lifted up and his ankles.
I love when she goes in and starts basically cussing at him. It takes him a while until finally he just finally like a slow take of looking at her, and she's like, "You're such a fucking chicken shit." I mean, if you were great, truly great, you could play anywhere, but instead you chose a club like West Ham because it's big and shiny, and you know that they'll win whether you're there or not, and you'll never have to wonder if you're still as good as you tell everyone you are. I'm like, holy shit.
That's literally the way to like appeal to someone's ego like that, isn't it?
Yep.
Did you notice that he was peeing and he stopped?
Again, the peeing noise.
And then it went back.
You're overhyped, you're overpaid, and you eat too much asparagus and walks off. I was like, and then he stops and goes, "But you can't smell it if it's yours. Apparently, it's a enzyme thing, not a lamb enzyme." But yeah.
Nice.
And she just goes back up to the stands and is like, so did you go and sweet talk Zava? No, whatever the opposite of that is. And Keeley goes, sour yelling?
Yeah, and then we were talking about, they tied the score on the pitch, which is awesome. And Arlo says, "Chris, have you ever scored with your face?" Chris says, "I score with every part of my body, Arlo." That's a ridiculous question.
Ridiculous question.
It's also a ridiculous answer because Chris was a defender, so he only scored 6 goals in his entire career.
Man,
really?
Right, I googled it. I googled it, how many, because I was thinking he wasn't a goal scoring player. He was a defender. There's no way he scored that many goals. And then I looked, he only scored 6 over about 350 games.
And crap, that line was a great line, and you ruined it. Man, it was ruined by the truth. This is ridiculous.
I needed
no
to know.
one's going to fact check that apart from Jay, are they really?
True.
Yeah. Sorry, 667 games, 6 goals.
1 every 100 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
Jeez.
That was over. That was over like a 21-year career.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we called down Lay Juft from the mountaintop, and that's what we get.
It's true.
It's not all
It's
good
true.
news. Sometimes he brings
It's
bad.
not. Yeah, it's not all good.
He did also go almost a decade without scoring at one point.
Yeah, but
Holy
he's a defender. He's not good at score.
Yeah.
It's not your job.
That's true. I'm just saying.
Down the pitch, Jamie and Danny.
Also, I assumed it was meant as a double entendre for scoring. Wink.
I did too. Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah. That I can't fact check, but
I don't know. Go ahead, give it a shot.
I've got some videos you can borrow. It's fine.
it's
Google's a powerful search engine. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true.
That's what I assumed it was a double entendre, but yeah, I don't know.
Down the pitch, Jamie and Danny are celebrating, and Danny goes, "Do you think Zava saw?" And Jamie's like, "Don't be a dick, man.
Don't be a dick."
Yeah. The game ends as a draw, and Chelsea has a press conference to announce Zava. Jay, the guy that is announcing Zava, is this a real person with Chelsea, or is this just an actor?
Nah, it's an actor.
Okay. Some guy in it. Yeah.
Usually so if like clubs are announcing a sign, and usually they'll have like a press officer like that though, who'll kind of be the person sort of like overseeing the press conference. But normally as well, they wouldn't have the arrogance to enter a press conference without the contract being already signed, and that being like a sort of like a fluff contract to just kind of like make it look like
a wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely, like a wrestling contract signing. They'd normally have had him do all his paperwork prior to this announcement, then unveil the signing, and they sign like a sort of a fake contract just to say, look, I've done it. It's not really that big a thing in the UK. It's more of a Spanish thing where they do like a big player reveal though. Like in Spain, like usually Barcelona and Real Madrid, the two that come to mind there, they'll like sign a big name and they'll have them kind of like come out in the kit, like the full kit, kick the football around, sign the contract, and then that's the day. That's that everyone's talking about it for the rest of the day.
Zava sits down at the big table and he announces he won't be signing with Chelsea. He'll be playing for Richmond. Rupert in his car is not happy. Zava asks if he can keep the pen.
In the corridor. I'm watching the corridor. I can't watch this because I will not be signing for Chelsea, and they all leave.
Yeah,
and then he goes, "I will be signing for Richmond." And like Rebecca comes back around, Keeley comes back, and then then Higgins like kind of bumps into them like a Scooby Doo cartoon. Like he comes down that corner so sharp.
Expect that sound effect. You know the running.
But then also Zava's just like, "Can I keep the pen?" And the guy's like, "Okay." It's just such a bizarre.
And he shakes his hand and smiles for the photo.
Can we take a press photo like he's just signed?
Yeah, that's wonderful. In the locker room, Bumbercatch checks his phone and yells, "We've got Zava." Beard does that scream and then covers his mouth. You know, Bumbercatch repeats it and Beard screams behind his hand, which is awesome. The guys are celebrating, but Jamie shakes his head and says the fans are not going to like this. Meanwhile, back at the pub, they're all chanting Zava's name. They're all happy. Of course they are.
Looking that as well, May is mugging really hard to camera during that "We Got Zava" bit.
Yeah.
She's glaring directly at the camera doing bits.
Yeah. I would hope she was encouraged to, do what you want.
Yeah.
Get our attention.
Oh, yeah.
Back at the clubhouse, Roy's looking at the newspaper clipping and then tears it up. So he is moving on. Good for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ted says, "What are you up to tonight, Coach? You want to race walk home together?" And Beard says, "I can't. Jane and I are going to go see her friend's immersive theater show about the menstrual cycle."
And then Ted's response is just like, "Well, I hope you're not late." I was like, "Oh God, it's a good line, but also
outstanding
that sounds like hell on earth as well." Interactive theater, immersive theater is no, not for me.
She says, "Please tell Jane I said hello." He says, I would, but she still finds our relationship threatening. Freaking Jane,
Madness.
man.
Jane Payne.
Jane Payne.
Mm-hmm. So, Beard leaves and Trent walks in. And he says, "Hey, Roy, I'm just curious what it was like being back at Chelsea." Ted asks, "All them fans sure were happy to see you." Roy says, "I don't know, just felt sad or something." He goes, "Why is that?" He hesitates and looks at Trent before he speaks. And he says, "Last season I was there, we played a match against Arsenal, and we were fucking murdered. We fucking murdered them."
Yep.
Trent says, "I remember 3-0. He goes, "Yeah, but I played like shit." Trent hesitates and then agrees with him. And he says, "That was the first time ever I thought, I can't keep up anymore. I'm not good enough." And that was all I could think about for the rest of the year. I knew it was only going to get worse. So at the end of the season, I left. Everyone was shocked. The club was shocked. The fans, the press. I didn't want to be one of them broken down footballers just taking up space until they're dropped years after they should have been. Ted says, "Yeah, well, a lot of folks think it's better to quit than to be fired, you know." Roy says, "Yeah, but going back there today, there's a part of me thinking maybe I should have stayed and just fucking enjoyed myself. But that's not who I am, I guess."
Not who I am. And that's the big, like, that's Roy. This is Roy going, Christ, yeah. It's quite a big emotional reveal for Roy, this, of like,
Yeah.
realizing that he knew when his time was up, which is weird because he came to Richmond and tried to squeak out 2 more seasons, but he couldn't. But it's just that thing, and him constantly asking Trent for like confirmation of it all the way through. That's that bit as well, because he's like, when I left, like the fans were upset, the club, the press, and Trent goes, yeah, and it's.
I think that's kind of like Roy extending an olive branch to a degree with Trent, though, isn't it? Like he's obviously showing there's no kind of ill will between them by kind of like getting Trent to sort of like confirm what he's saying.
Oh, well, he is, but he's
also
when he says I played like shit, and if Trent had gone, well, no, he'd have been like, well, you're lying, because I did. I know I played like shit, and you know I played like shit. So why are we doing that now? I appreciate your honesty. What you were saying back then, yeah, probably was honest, but it's not what a 17-year-old lad needs to hear. Like, especially the more we know about Roy's backstory, the more horrific it is as well. And all he wanted was for someone to pat him on the back and say, "You're doing all right, kid."
Yeah.
But when he's like,
but Ted then just like, but if you hadn't, we'd never have met. And he puts his head on his hands and bats his eyelashes out.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, because when he says that's not who I am, Ted goes, not yet. I mean, Ted will believe in you. Ted still believes in Nate. Like, Nate betrayed him, and he still believes in him. Like, if any of us have ever met a human like that, be friends with that guy till the end. I don't know that I've ever met a human that believes in me that much. That's freaking nuts. So, yeah. Awesome stuff. Also, only fiction. Trent says, sport. It's quite the metaphor. Ted says, yeah, it also makes for a heck of a nickname. And he says, night, Ted.
And then Roy goes, good night, good night. And then Trent leaves. He goes, good night, sport. And then Trent just goes, right.
Yeah.
So here's what got me.
Also, this is the bit. Sorry. Go on, you do your bit and I'll do my bit. Go on.
I was going to say, you might be the same thing. This is what got me is at the end that Ted stops and ponders something just before the episode goes to black. What happened there? What'd I miss?
Well, I think. Go on.
Oh, go on, Joe.
I was going to say, I assume it's Roy, like the parallel between Roy's journey and his marriage. I put it down to, of like, you know, it isn't there anymore. Why keep it going if it isn't there? That's what I put it down to. But that again, that might just be me.
See, I thought it was more a case of, like them leaving it lingering on Ted. Was Ted kind of thinking about what Roy said and thinking about like more the club, because obviously Roy is talking about knowing when it's time to kind of leave the club, and Ted's sort of like,
okay,
it's like he's taking that on board. Obviously, knowing what we know moving forward, that's. And obviously, they've already started teasing that Ted's kind of questioning why he's still in London, why he's not back in America. I think it's just more kind of sowing those seeds of like Ted realizing this is going to be his last season at Richmond.
Okay. Yeah. Both. Yours makes more sense, but it's the fact that Trent went sport. It's a metaphor for everything, and I'm just like the fact that he stops and goes, "Yeah, maybe my time here is up," and yeah, I should. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest, mate.
Yeah. Yours makes more sense.
That's this entire show too. Is Ted's view of life is very much metaphor. One thing means something else, and yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Well, there you have it, kids. Episode 2 of season 3, the debut of one of our favorite characters of all time, Shandy. I'm kidding.
John, others Zlatan fact to send us home.
Come on, one more, send us home.
Yes.
I mean, I've got 4. I can do. They're all relatively short. I can do all 4 if you want.
No, space them out. Oh, we've got.
Okay.
If we get to the last Zava episode and you've got loads left in your locker, then we'll just burn them all through.
We'll do like an outtakes episode of it. So let's talk about when Zlatan was part of PSG. So in 2013, Zlatan bought all his PSG teammates the brand new Xbox One. They were all customized to be signed by Zlatan.
Oh my god! What? Tell me what a PSG. I'm drawing a blank.
Paris
Saint-Germain.
Gotcha.
So he was like, again, the marquee signing for them. That was where he spent the most time. He was there from 2012 to 2016.
It's just like I've bought everyone a new car, but it's got a picture of my face on the bonnet. Yeah, it's just
pretty much it's that. Yeah, like I believe he got it, so it was like engraved with his signature. Everyone was engraved with his signature.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I mean, we know LeBron didn't appreciate that joke. Apparently, what did players and teammates think of him?
You say joke. I think.
I mean. Yeah, I don't think it was a joke a bit. I think it was just him being him.
They'll all appreciate having a Xbox One signed by me.
Yeah, I think from what I can tell, he's always like. There's never anything really about like players disliking it. It's more managers or people like LeBron who he's had a bit of a run-in with.
I think he shows up to practice on a zebra or something. Like, you know what I mean? Just rich people stuff.
I think it's one of those things where he's like that good a player that the players that love him because they're always going to win games with him or they're always going to do well with him. And he's probably just like really fun to play with. Like when you're playing a team game and you've got someone really good on your team, isn't it? You're always made up. You've got that person who's really good at the game on your team and not playing against you. Yeah.
Interesting.
John,
well, you know, if you go around talking about yourself in the third person like The Rock, you better be sure you're good. Like, because the minute you miss a score, the minute the ball's stolen, or the rest of your clubhouse is going to go, "Excuse me, I thought you were awesome. What's happening?" Like,
I mean, his goal scoring record's like obscene. So I think he did all right.
Yeah.
So he did more than 6 in 663 games. Is that what
I
you're
was going to say, more than one every 100 games.
So in almost the same amount of games, so in 637 games, he scored 405 goals.
Jesus.
Woo!
All right.
That's just a club level. Like, that's not taken into account international level.
What's the math on that? On just that?
It's about 60-ish% conversion rate. So yeah, he never went looking at the breakdown of like seasons. He never went a season where he didn't get into double figures, which is like insane.
Crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. He's
a very good footballer.
I'd take a free Xbox. You know.
Yeah.
Unless it had like Gary Glitter's face on it or something, then I'd have to send it back.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
You know what I mean?
He's a big gamer. Like, there's a lot of stories about him like playing FIFA online and stuff like that. And so like I think that's what he equates down to, like giving his team all Xboxes. Is that
they were all going to play together.
Yeah.
Online. Oh,
like
that's adorable.
There's a story in his book. This isn't down as one of my Zlatan facts, by the way. This is just a story I remember being told from someone who'd read this book, which I'm going to actually read because I'm after doing the research, I'm fascinated by him. Where he'd play online with this fella, like play FIFA all the time. Didn't like speak on mic or anything. He was just speaking like text chat. And one time he said, "Tell you what, we've been playing this game for like 2 years. Let's meet up somewhere." Met up in like a train station in France, and he gave this guy like a watch. Bought him a watch. Like, just say thank you for playing games with me.
Oh, that's kind of weird, but mental.
Yeah, but that's the kind of guy he is. He gives out a lot of stuff, but also he thinks he's some kind of messiah god.
Yeah,
like
again, I'm assuming the watch had a picture of his face as like the basal plate on it or whatever. Yeah.
Well, imagine though, just like walking into it, getting told by someone you've been playing.
Yeah, thinking you're going to meet some kind of sweaty nerd. And
just have a beer together or something, and then Zlatan's waiting there with a fucking Rolex. That's insane.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
So always make sure you know who you're playing with online. You never know. Always be polite to people.
That's right.
Always be polite to people anyway.
Don't be Rupert. Be more like Danny. Be more like Danny, not Rupert. That's what basically that's our theme here. That's the one. So before we get out of here, Joe, your biggest takeaways from this episode.
Oh, Zava's here. And it can only get better from here, briefly. We're introduced to he's not there long, but the impact, the devastation he leaves in his wake. And we're also introduced to like you said, the least favorite. Even I would say kind of worse than Nate, because at least Nate has reasons for what he does in Shandy. But yeah, we're just plodding along nicely. But we're starting to see like Ted, him wanting to go. The fact that Rupert can still get under Rebecca's skin, even though she's claimed she's over it. We're good. We've got a long way to go yet. And again, like these episodes are long episodes. Like each one is longer than all the previous ones. So with a lot more story to get to before we get into like the meat and potatoes of this season.
We think, Jay?
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of like building bridges in relationships in this episode. So you've got like obviously Roy and Trent built like repairing their relationship. Keeley trying to kind of mend her relationship. Well, not mend it, but create a relationship with Barbara. And obviously Zava to Richmond as well. And trying to like build that bridge. But it does it in a way where like it doesn't feel like it's kind of like the episode's revolving around it. It's just the kind of critical moments of it. But it's obviously like the build up to the payoff of all that is going to be cool. Obviously we're getting now Zava to Richmond, which yes, please. And I think as well, like the thing with Roy and Trent, it really kind of helps build both characters' story throughout the rest of the season now. Like it is as Ted said, like your ego's stopping a lot more than a silly football game, and now we kind of get to benefit from that they've kind of put that behind them.
Well, also like Jamie and Roy, like the kit room scene is like both of them growing, because even when he went to hug him, like he didn't just try and punch him. Like he was like, they're both growing, they're both learning to become actual humans. I would say this is the relationships episode.
Yeah. It's body science.
Body science, that's what it's all about, baby. It's all about crossed arms and clenched asses.
Body science, yeah. Well, look, as we alluded to in episode 1 of season 3 here, kids, season 1 of this show, you very much felt the pain of Rebecca's, rejection, what she was going through. In every episode, you had to deal with it. In season 2, every episode just about, you either had to deal with Nate's downward spiral or hear about it. In season 3, in the first 2 episodes, you're already dealing with Ted's not happy. He really misses being home. He really misses his son. And it's going to continue. And if you have watched the show through the entire 3 seasons, you know how this series ends. So if you haven't, we won't ruin it. If you're doing it in real time with us, we appreciate you. So we won't ruin it for you. But just so you know, expect more of this to keep happening. We've got 10 episodes left. And not only will we have finished season 3, we would have finished the series. So thanks everybody for hanging in there with us. We appreciate you being patient. Thank you for sharing the show. Please check us out on all of our social media channels at 2 Nations Pod. It's real easy to remember. We made it crazy easy for you. Go binge season 1, season 2 if you haven't yet. Thanks again for hanging out with us. Keep your eyes open for season 3. It's coming your way real soon. And in the meantime, till we get there, for Jay and Joe, I'm Tom. See you next time, kids.